Hi, I'm Shelley Ballard, and I'd like to talk a little bit about developing my leadership qualities as a scholar practitioner. In my current position, I'm an instructional coach at a large public charter high school, but within that role, I hold several leadership positions as well. I am the Avid Site coordinator on campus, which means I lead the Avid Site team in the curriculum and development and instruction of the Avid elective, as well as opportunities and events surrounding our Avid scholars. I also lead efforts in creating opportunity awareness on campus for all students, as well as providing professional development opportunities for faculty. I also serve on our school's leadership team, and I chair the instructional team, which consists of the principal, the associate principal, myself, and our data coach slash testing coordinator. In addition, I also sit on several committees and have led several teams along the way. Those are probably the most prominent leadership roles that I hold. In my job, I would best describe myself as a situational leader. According to Dan from 2022, a situational leader is proactive and adaptive. So, in my job, I do have to adapt quickly. For example, recently we just learned that South Carolina passed legislation requiring graduating high school students to complete a half credit personal finance course. And so, in working with the instructional team, we are trying to find solutions to provide space in our master schedule for 16 additional sections of this course, making sure that students are being taught by the best, most highly qualified teachers, and a well that we are inserting in our program of studies in a very meaningful and logical place so that it actually benefits the students as best as possible. As a situational leader, I must be aware. As the Avid Site team coordinator, I have a very good knowledge of my team. It's a small group of people, there are only 8 of us, but I have a very good understanding of the strengths and weaknesses of each team member. I also know each person on a somewhat personal level, at the very least, so that I can understand the forces that are impacting them outside of school so that I can make the best use of my time with them and also get the most from them without imposing any more than I absolutely have to. I Awareness of context is very important, I think, as an instructional leader on campus. I have worked at my school for 17 years, and so I am very aware of the background of the school and the history of the school, and I have seen lots of changes in initiative, and I've seen successes and failures on campus, and I also have a very good understanding of the climate and the culture in our campus. I understand the data. This is where my instructional team comes in very handy, because as not a numbers person, I do rely on the data coach to help me to identify the data that we need to pull. I rely on her to help me in interpreting that data so that we can make the best decisions about policies and practices that will impact student achievement the most. And then finally, in my job, I think strategic leadership is key, because I do hold several different leadership roles within my position. I also need to be able to lead in a style that is appropriate in the context. With the Avid Site team, for example, I might be a little bit more decisive, making decisions and trying to delegate a little bit more, because I am aware of the needs of our AVID certification. And I also have a bigger picture of the overall school than a lot of the site team members. So I understand not only what's going on in the AVID elective course, but also school wide so that we can make better decisions. However, as an instructional coach, I really try very hard to be more of a transformational leader, or even a quiet leader, someone leading from behind, to sort of guiding and quietly mentoring faculty so that they can engage in their best practices and they can be the most successful at their job and help their students to be the most successful as well. So I do have to pivot a lot as a situational leader. In taking the leadership qualities assessment, self assessment, the first thing that I did was I actually went through and ranked all 25 qualities. And then after that, I went to the self assessment part and rated myself in each quality. For the vast majority of these qualities, I gave myself a does well. There were seven in which I felt like I do somewhat well, and then there were two clear weaknesses for me. So, my strengths, I really think, are problem solving, self motivation, and visionary leadership. I am very motivated because I am very passionate and I love what I do and I see the importance in it. But also, I am resilient and I see failure and obstacles as an opportunity to be creative. So I am able to use that, translate that into motivation to really think of creative solutions to problems as well. Where I need to improve is in my self confidence as a leader and my ability to delegate. I have lots of self confidence in my knowledge in the area of curriculum and instruction. I have lots of confidence in my knowledge about the AVID program and a lot of the other initiatives and practices that we engage in at our school. Um, but acting as a motivator and a leader is something that does not come easy to me, and it is something that I struggle with. Delegating is also something that's very difficult for me, mostly because I just see how overwhelming it can be to be a high school teacher and an educator, and I understand the sheer number of things and the magnitude of the things that are going on campus, and so it's hard for me to put one more thing or to try to put one more thing on someone else's plate. So to learn how to delegate and to do so very thoughtfully is something that I would like to work on as a leader. I'm really lucky because my boss affords me lots of opportunities to grow as a leader. He is supportive of any professional development I seek or I need, and he also provides me the space to be able to make decisions and to give the advice that I need to give in order to best do my job. In developing a leadership style, I used a couple of articles to sort of help create my own framework. First, I consulted Soria and Johnson, which was a required reading from 2020. And then I also consulted Bloomquist and George in an article on leadership development for a little further information. So I created or came up with three strategies that I think are going to best help me to develop as a leader. And the first one is to make sure that I am serving my community. By engaging in critical thinking skills and problem solving skills and figuring out what the needs of the community are, I am able to engage in those real world needs so that I can bring that experience and I can bring that perspective to my school, to my faculty, and to my students. It allows me to, I'm a very lucky position that I am able to embed my community service in my practice, especially as the AVID site coordinator. And that also provides me with time that I can reflect on my own practice. This also gives me the opportunity to invest time and energy into my community. My second strategy is through social interactions, and this could be formal, professional, academic societies such as Kappa Delta Pi. It could also be the Facebook page for ACE EDD students. Either way, I think that social interactions, it could also be the leader, the instructional team that I work very closely with at school. But these social interactions will allow me to engage in team building. They also, more importantly, bring a diversity of thought and experience that I can add to my own and mesh in with my own so that I make sure that the decisions that I'm making and the advice that I'm giving and the policies that I have impact on are equitable and accessible to all of the stakeholders, especially all of the students in our community. This also allows me to see the modeling of behaviors as a leader of a scholar practitioner, to be able to engage in the scholarly writing and the scholarly discourse, as well as learning how other people translate their leadership style into success for themselves and their organizations. And then finally, holding a critical perspective is another strategy that I believe is going to help me to develop my leadership style, to always question the status quo. I see myself as an instructional coach, as an educator, as an agent of change. And I see myself as being very open minded to the possibilities that maybe we should be doing it a different way, or maybe we could be doing it a better way. And it's very important to me in my practice and in my role as an instructional coach that I'm engaging in social change. Our school has a very active equity and access committee that not only brings cultural awareness and cultural competence to our school community, but also engages in practices and programs that ensure that none of our students are getting left behind, especially those from historically underserved populations. This is also going to give me that arsenal of perspectives and experiences that are outside of my own that I can draw from whenever engaging in leadership decisions, and to understand some of the really complex problems that face our world and that face our community as well. I'd like to share these references. I consulted 2 of our course readings for this assignment, and I also consulted an outside source that I found very useful in helping me to understand, especially that interdisciplinarity, so that I can step outside myself and to welcome the perspectives of others as they help me in my leadership development. Thank you very much.